Sun in the hizzle, all for shizzle dizzle. We got an excellent show here today. We got Zanzi. What's going on, Zanzi?
I'm very good. I'm very good. The winter's coming in here in Canada, so it's
Man,
getting cold. So,
absolutely. And hopefully, Nature Mom can join us in a few minutes. Um, we're gonna discuss some, nutrition, health, that sort of thing. So, Zanzi, when you gonna get your uncle on here, man? Because I definitely like to hear his perspective, man. What converted and switched him from his perspective. I know what you explained to us in the past, but I'm very curious, to
wait,
hear
you want to
his.
get my uncle on the show?
Yeah.
ah, you know, I I wonder if it would be possible. I I'd like to ask him actually if you're interested in having him because he's not he's not like us, right?
Uh
In the
huh.
sense that I'm a scientific aficionado, right? But my training, I have only college level
Right.
science classes, if you will, right?
Right.
And most of my university level classes are in philosophy, right?
Right.
And I don't know that you have any formal science and training, right? Uh, he's got a PhD, right? And
Hmm.
he's a microbiologist working on cancer.
Right.
So it's but he's got a very interesting view of the academic, right?
Right.
Well, academic system, right? Whilst he respect that that's where research is done and that's where knowledge is gained to some extent, right? He finds that the money aspect and money, well, going after grants all the time, uh, is quite tiresome, right? But he's quite a buzzy
He's a
person
professional student.
for, well, he's quite a buzzy person for that particular reason, right?
Hmm.
He has to take care of his classes. He has to get grants for the university. He has to, and he's absolutely not the argumentative type, right? So it would not, it would definitely
Well, I'm
not.
a fellow vegan, so I wouldn't argue with him. I will come from a more point of curiosity because um, you have doctors and scientists going plant based, and I always like to take from, like you said, he has a PhD, and take from some of the studies because I know he, especially dealing with cancer, I know he's done a lot of studies showing a lot of trials, showing, so I like to have, even though I can't have access to the same libraries he has, and that's why I like to get in touch with Nature Mom. I like to use that in my arsenal just because people are going to continue to come at me being a vegan. So, and vegan is really not that I push, it's something that I defend myself with. So, that's why I like to have the information, to kind of just slap people around a little bit. But no, I wouldn't get into it with your uncle. He's a vegan, number one, and then number two, he's well studied in that field. So no, I would just be curious to get some of his knowledge of what he's learned and what convinced him, saying, you know what, I'm gonna go plant based because of A, B, and C.
Well, you know what? I'm in 2 weeks. I'm on
Hmm.
vacation for a week, and I was planning to go there.
Oh, good.
At my aunt's house. So while we're there, maybe we can try and put a show on and have it on, right?
I'm with it. I'm with it, man. Just make sure your internet is straight, and yeah, we can get with it, man. Let me see if they
They
have.
don't have as good as an internet as connection as I have,
Right, right.
but I guess we'll see, right?
Well, we just have to try and see, and hopefully it'll go well. If not, then just because I'm calling Nature Mom right now, because I don't know how her internet's doing. It's up and down where she is. I know they're having FIFA over there in the Middle East, so we'll see. But I'm calling her right now. But if she's not able to answer, then I guess we just do a short show. Um, because I was really relying on her to share some information, but I don't think um like last week, I think again, even though she said Sunday, I think somehow she didn't remember. So, yeah. Um, okay, I just called her and she's not answering. Okay, so I don't know. Uh, might just have to do a freestyle show today. Or we could talk about nutrition. We could talk about what you know. I mean, I know your uncle. Like I said, we could set that up. Um, and like I said, just the internet. As far as the internet, we just have to test it out and see, and just hope test it and keep our cream fingers
Oh no,
crossed.
but when I say I don't know what's the quality of the internet, I'm mainly speaking about the Wi-Fi router and stuff, right? I just have to bring a cable and plug my laptop in, and we're gonna be set, right? I don't know. I don't know, right? Maybe it's the FIFA thing really that's going on in Qatar right now. I don't know,
Right,
but if she's got a wired connection to your computer, there's no reason that the internet should be ever that bad. So either it's
right,
really FIFA or they're really trying to get this Wi-Fi working, but sometimes that's just gonna make you mad because your environment is just too shitty and too crowded for Wi-Fi to work properly.
it is right. Even here in Atlanta, it's not recommended. And I would say Georgia probably has some of the best internet on the southeast, and even then, I still wouldn't suggest
Well,
anybody in the U.S. use wireless. Do
you said
hardwire. It even tells you on the show in the stream, please use hardwire. It tells you that. At least for
well.
this application, it tells you use hardwire, please.
As much as people want Wi-Fi to be something that should work perfectly all the time in 2022 because we're in the future already,
Right.
that's not the case. Copper is still the best way to go. Fiber would be better, but I don't think that having a fiber infrastructure inside your home, it exists. It's possible, but you know, you won't benefit from it. Copper is gonna do the job just
Yeah,
fine.
cover's
But
gonna
you
do it
said
every
I
time.
thought you were in Stone Mountain. You're in Atlanta now.
No, no, no. When I say I always say Atlanta, but I'm actually in Stone Mountain. I'm not in Atlanta, but I use that as a reference point to where I am. If you look on geographically on a map, you'll see Atlanta before you see Stone Mountain. You got to, blow it up widely to see Stone Mountain. So I just say Atlanta as a general area. And plus, I'm not that far from Atlanta, but I just say that to say that, our internet, which is Comcast, which is one of the best in this state. It's not required. I mean, yeah, we got Wi-Fi, but it doesn't beat hardwire.
No, but
It doesn't
again,
beat hardwire.
if you're using the router, right, the Wi-Fi access point, wireless access point, provided by your ISP, then yeah, you can say Comcast's Wi-Fi is not that great because maybe their device is not that great, right? But you
Mhm,
could always buy your own Wi-Fi access point, right, of a
mhm,
better quality and connect it to whatever device they use to connect, if it's cable on the coaxial, right? But then, well, with five gigahertz and 6 gigahertz now available, you should be able to uh, to have a network that's working properly if you tune it. But yeah,
mhm,
sometimes it's just especially if you live like a larger building with hundreds of units, then even
mhm.
5G might be a lost cause, right? But yeah, but it's it's the way it is, man. Like, we're surrounding ourselves with electromagnetic waves of all kinds.
Right, right. So yeah, let's touch on the show you did last week too, man. With Noble. Shoot, yeah, let's talk about that real quick. You want to talk about that, or you
About what? Yams?
the whole Jesus thing, the whole um because I was looking at it, I didn't have a chance to jump in. It was you, Noble,
Oh, the
and
things that
Trevor, and myself.
people were talking about.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, I mean, like I've talked to her a bit, right? We've exchanged a bit at the end there, and I tried to make it clear that I was genuinely asking those questions to try to understand her
Right,
reasoning,
right.
right? And
Yeah.
Trevor answered pretty much answered the question. I don't know if she was trying to say basically the same thing that Trevor was saying, right? But when I asked what in Jesus, even if all that you just presented about him going to India, right? Even if we accept all those secondary sources about Jesus or Isaiah, that person existed, right? What
Mhm.
in him existing, right? Or let's say even Abraham existing at that exact time and going to Ur, right? Even if we accept all that as true, what, if anything, in that story makes you believe in the supernatural and the existence of a God, right?
Right,
And she kept saying, "You can see God." She didn't answer that particular question, right?
right.
And but Trevor, I think it made it clearer what you were trying to say, but I didn't really get to ask. I kind of gave up on asking her questions at some point, but
Right.
and what he said was, I it's not linked. There's no link, right? In the sense that he believed in a force and a God, regardless of if those people existed or not, right?
Oh,
What he
right, right, right. Okay.
what he's wondering about, what he cares about, in wanting to know if those people existed or not, is what they is the connection they claim to have to God, to his stand, to his plan, to his intent. Is that connection real, right? Is what they prescribe as a good way to live, what they prescribe as rituals, are those things a scam made up by liars, or are those people? Did those people exist? Are those stories true? And did it really have a connection to that omnipotent, omniscient force, right? And if that's what Nature Mom wanted to say when I asked her the question, Nature Mom, sorry, when Sister Noble
Yeah.
said when I asked her the question, well, what's the link between those people existing and your belief in God and the supernatural? And she answered, "You can see God everywhere in the day, in the sky, in the clouds, blah blah blah." If that's what
Oh,
she was trying to say,
right.
that her belief in God comes not from that, but from what she sees everywhere else in the world, then okay, yeah, my line of question would have gone elsewhere. I would have understood that and maybe asked her examples of where she see God in nature or things like that, right? Just to understand her faith again, because like she said, she's not a debater and didn't want, so I wouldn't have challenged anything. I wouldn't have said, "Oh, so you see God in that, but that's not God," right? No, I would just
Right.
wanted to understand where faith is coming from. Or maybe I would have gone in more the sense of saying, okay, so if your faith is not related to those people, right? So what importance do those people have to you? Is it their relation to God? Is it that you believe that they so and then
I
the
think,
answer would have been, I guess, son of God or Messiah or prophet, and I guess we could have discussed those concepts, right?
well, that's why I think religion is so ridiculous is because let's just, okay, let me just use Jesus as an example. So, I've heard when they say, when you just concentrate on the teaching of Jesus, Jesus said that only the most important commandment is to love. That's what he says. So, all this trying to prove and all this and that is just like extra shit. So it's like, okay, whether he existed or not, who cares? Like,
Well, what
it's the
I find is
lesson.
interesting is that what she used, right, the material,
Hmm.
the books that she used, right, that
Yeah.
have uh, people having signs of Jesus in India and in
Mhm. Right.
Nepal and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Those, not all, but most of the people ascribing to those theories, they developed those theories and did those research to try and sustain the fact that yes, someone named Jesus slash Isaiah uh, existed at that time, right?
Yeah.
And most likely of Jewish descent, but during his last years, right, before he
Hmm.
reappeared after being born, went to the east, right, and
Right.
learned Buddhist and more
Eastern
the
religions, right? Or
Eastern
philosophy, right?
philosophies and Eastern religion, right?
Yeah.
And try to bring back this baggage of belief in spiritual ideas back to the at the time more Jewish world, and try to combine Abrahamic thought and Abrahamic spiritualities with those Eastern spiritualities and philosophies, right? And
Right.
so those people are kind of dismissing the idea of or don't care about, does Jesus have a link between an actual God or not, or does an actual God or not exist? They're just trying to figure out, well, who was this person that influenced the world so much that it's now the biggest religion in the world, right? Whether or
Hmm.
not it was actually divine is not the question, right? If fucking I don't know, Charles Manson is called at in fucking 1,000 years, ends up being the main religion, right, of fucking satanist or whatever he was, right? um, don't you think that some people might say, well, maybe he wasn't directly related to Satan, the overlord of the
Right.
world, but maybe he's a guy who really existed, right?
Right.
And they most likely never figure out that he's just a guy who killed an actress with a bunch of people, right?
Right.
And guided people, and maybe was part of a government program called MK Ultra at some
Right.
extent, right? They're never gonna figure that out in 2,000 years, right? But maybe they're gonna be trying to understand, this guy exists or not, right? So because
Right.
he
Right.
influenced
Right.
the world so much, right? So I think
So
that
what is the end game? Okay, you're trying to figure out. Okay, this guy, he created this bigger religion, and it's just like the Kanye West thing, which I don't know if you're familiar with Nick Cannon, but they both got in trouble because they said, or uh, black people are the Hebrew Israelites, and the
oh,
mainstream medium said, oh, well, they're anti-Semitic, and no, they shouldn't say that. And it's like, okay, I'm looking like, who
I
cares?
want your opinion on that, because right, so I I have this podcast that I listen to, Lex Friedman, right? I
Right.
don't know if you know, but I think it's a pretty good podcast, and I don't really follow Kanye's
Kanye
life
West? No, I
or
don't either.
career, or and but he appeared on that podcast last week after
Oh,
what I learned what happened through that podcast, right? And what's interesting is that Lex Friedman has Russian, Ukrainian, and Jewish ancestry, right?
yeah.
So that's where I learned that apparently Kanye West said some anti-Semitic stuff and went from 4.1 billion to 400 million in one day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lost all of
So,
his endorsements, right?
and I watched the podcast, right? And I mean, from what I understand of Kanye West, he's kind of a lunatic, and
Well, he has
that's
some mental
what
issues.
I
Yeah.
saw on the podcast to some extent, right? He's saying some outrageous stuff to some extent. I'm not saying that none of what he's saying makes sense, but
Well, didn't he admit to having
sometimes
a
it
bipolar
doesn't make
disorder?
sense what he's saying, right? So
Uh-huh.
he does have a hyper overextended and overinflated opinion of himself, I believe.
Yeah, but
Uh,
didn't he admit it that he suffers from a bipolar disorder, that he needs medication?
if that's the, you know what? I don't know enough about him to know if that's the case or not. If
This
that's
this is
what
what
he's
I've heard.
saying, if that's what he says, that makes more sense,
Mhm.
because I do have a bipolar. Well, my mother's husband is bipolar, and
Mhm.
well, I would have never seen Kanye West in a down, a low, right? But that's exactly how I would expect someone with bipolar disorder to act in a high. So that would make sense. In which case, it's unfortunate in one sense for him, but he definitely managed to make it productive, right? But in a current world, ah, I mean, where you can fucking, and I believe it's personally fucking ridiculous that you can lose your fucking career in live for a comment on a fucking website. But Okay, right? That's what happens. That's what we live in now. So of course Kanye West is gonna fucking say something wrong at some point and get canceled, right? But
Yeah, but I mean, this is not the first time. There was another rapper by the name of Nick Cannon, and he did the same thing. He
I
did
mean,
the
if
same
we spoke
exact thing.
about Jewish people,
Right,
that's a big no-no, right? In
right,
our
right, right. So I'm thinking, what is worth? I mean, I'm not either for or against. I mean, I'm for free speech, but I don't understand what is the agenda of saying this. You're willing to lose all your endorsements, which both Nick
I
and
don't think he
Kanye
had
lost.
an agenda. He was just pissed off and said something on a fucking website, you know, and that's enough to take your life away nowadays, right? Go
So
back fucking 10 years.
He never went into what specifically pissed him off. Because I guess I need to. I mean, I got so much going on that
I,
as you know, I
basically, the only thing he said was that he started of getting fucked over by Jewish people in the music industry, right? And
okay,
well, he kind of doubled down every time. Every time someone offered him an opportunity to go back or try to explain or shift what he said, right? He kind of doubled down on the fact that no, Jewish people control the media and Jewish people are fucking black people over, right?
right.
And yeah, well, people don't like that
So
apparently,
I
and
guess he
I
was
guess
suffering. He was speaking. He was pissed off because this is his personal experience. Like, oh yeah, they did it to me. So he's just not
might
saying
absolutely
this.
be the case.
He's speaking
And
from a place, huh?
it might absolutely be the case. And that's what actually
Okay,
Lex Friedman said. He said, well, in that case, what you should do is most likely call out specific people, right? And
right,
not
right,
Jewish people, right? If
right,
it's your personal experience, and then it makes it about those people and
right.
not
Those
the whole
specific, right,
Jewish community, and it doesn't sound anti-Semitic, right? But then again, you gotta ask yourself if that's what he would have done, right? But his list of 20 people who fucked every other, well, him or every other member of the black musician community, right? And
right,
that 20 people person list only contains Jewish people. It's likely that people are gonna say, "Well, those are all Jewish people, so you're anti-Semitic, right?" So it's if his experience was that Jewish people fucked him over and that pissed him off at a point that he wanted to express it, were it to have a fucking list with Jewish name on it, right? Because list of Jewish people that we don't want around is a good idea too, right? Or just say that the term he actually used was Jewish media, right? It's a no-win situation for him, right? So it's a no-win situation to go the free speech way in our times, right? But some would argue that free speech doesn't mean that does mean that you're allowed to say whatever you want, but you're not necessarily protected of the consequence of what you're saying, right? And what those
right,
consequences are must not be uh, a limitation of your ability to express those opinions, but it might be a limitation in the people you can work and cooperate with, because those people might not agree with what you're saying and might believe that it doesn't make for a suitable work environment, right? But back
right,
in the days, and that's why I believe there's a shift that's unfortunate in my mind, is that you couldn't say those plays to, let's say, co-workers outside of the place of work or on the place of work, right? If they didn't, because right, that could affect the work relationship. Nowadays, uh, whatever you said to whoever outside in any environment can affect your life at the, because it's a connected world, right? And people are on social media, right? And people nothing on the internet is truly private. So what ends up happening is that even if it's 10 years ago that you posted it on the internet and that you thought that it is not available to people anymore, it surely is. So you're, you know, it's easy to blame social media, but I think that I don't believe it's all about social media, right? It's something about us. Why do we care, right? Why do we care what someone said 10 years ago, right? What do we care Um, if someone expresses an opinion, right? I, I don't know, but it's it's the way we've chosen. So Kanye West, unfortunately, uh, he's he's not the kind of person who like to be bullied or pressured into an opinion or an
Right.
expression, right? He's always been uh, considering himself an innovator, and when
Right.
you innovate, you don't want to be led by others, I think. So when he said that, and people reacted saying, "No, you can't say that," he said, "No, no, no, no. Well, it's true. I can say it. Huh? What you gonna do?" Well, people took uh, $4 billion from him, and he reacted in a very Kanye West way, saying, "Whatever, you know." So it's yeah.
Right.
He- as far as I think he's kind of lunatic, you gotta hand it to him. He's true to himself, right? So
I mean, okay. I mean, I'm still. I. I guess because I don't understand the whole. Um, Not only with Kanye West, but even with not only with Nick Cannon, but just people in general when they proselytize and try to um, share their beliefs or their religion or their ideology. Like, what is the. And this is why I go back to the show you and Noble did. It's like, okay, so we talk about all these places where Jesus went and we got this proof and that proof. And then I'm like, but like I guess because I always look at the lesson. Like, what is the lesson here? What is the bottom line lesson? What is the conclusion
of the Bible.
of Jesus' teachings?
Oh, but the New Testament then.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just break it down to the New Testament and Jesus. Like, what is the end game there?
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting question, I think, and
Yeah.
that's the root of one of the biggest schism in Christianity, right?
Uh huh.
Protestant faith and Catholic faith, right?
Uh huh.
Uh, the Catholics believe that what it means and what the bottom line is whatever the Pope says it is.
Okay.
Right? And the whole structure of the church is based around taking this interpretation from the Pope and trickling down through cardinals and through priests down to the flocks, right?
Right.
And people, right, they read the Bible, but they don't interpret it themselves. The bottom line, it comes from the head of the church, right? Which is God. But since you can't commune with God and you don't have quite the same understanding of God as the Pope has, you have to follow what the Pope says, right? And Martin Luther King, from what I understand, when you could at some point pay yourself to paradise, said, "Well, maybe the system is fucked up," and decided to say, "No, no, no, no. We should, to some extent, be able to interpret the Bible ourselves, right? Read it ourselves and make the bottom line of it to some point to extract this knowledge ourselves, right?" And it, you've got different you've got so many different um some would call them denominations. I guess I call them sects, right?
Yes, that's yeah.
Sect, a cult,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
uh and those different sects, they have
Hmm.
uh different views of what the bottom line is, and they argue
Right,
about
right,
what the
right.
bottom line is, right? The
Mhm.
Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, evangelical Christians,
So there is no one
African
monolithic
Christians.
bottom line, is what you're saying.
They all claim to have the one right bottom line and to be the right true Christians, right?
Okay.
That's all their claims.
Well, this is why,
Witnesses, but
and this is why I never understood. more modern westernized religion being on the internet, because let's just take Jesus, right? And it's funny because you have Islam that follows, like, they acknowledge Jesus and all that and form their whole another religion after Christianity, and then you have Judaism before. And my thing is, okay, let's just go to Jesus, right? So my understanding in all my years that Jesus said to love your neighbor, that love is the bottom line. That's the greatest commandment, is to love, right? So my thing is, I guess love can be demonstrated in so many ways, but my thing is that I see people prophetizing and trying to convince people, and it's like,
Blackson,
okay,
love thy neighbor, right? In what
hmm
language is that?
I'm assuming that it's translated from. Well, I'm just gonna say English. Shit, love thy neighbor.
Yeah,
English,
it's in
yeah,
English, right?
yeah, yeah.
So the the Old Testament, right,
hmm
was written in Paleo Hebrew, right?
hmm
It's symbols. It's not even letters, right?
Right, right, right.
Those symbols can be numbers, they can be words, they can be sounds, right? One
hmm
symbol can be all those things at the same time, right? Uh,
hmm
so when when we translated those books, right? And I think is it Aramaic the first language for the New Testament? I'm not sure the first language for the New Testament, but I know that the
See,
Bible,
but
the
this is what
Bible,
I'm Zanzi.
we
This
have
you're
were
doing
translated from a Greek
Zanzi,
translation,
Zanzi,
right?
Zanzi. Pump the brakes, pump the brakes. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You
Well,
went
yeah,
into this whole nother scholastic area, and I'm just like, okay, I like, this was the target, and this
but
is the
what I'm
only.
saying is that when you say love thy neighbor, right?
Right,
You're
right, right,
saying
right.
you're basically reading Harry Potter at that point, in the
Okay,
sense that it has nothing to do with what the original text and original ideas were, because it's a different language, it's a different idea, it's a different,
right,
in philosophy in
right, and that's
college,
why we have
right?
so many
In
denominations of
philosophy in
religions,
college,
right?
we're
So,
saying that if you're going to go to the doctorate level on any subject, like if I wanted to do my doctorate thesis on Plato, right,
mhm.
I couldn't, it wouldn't work. I wouldn't be allowed to read Plato's work in English, in French, in whatever. I would have to learn ancient Greek, and I would have to learn it, to read it in ancient Greek, because you cannot gain insight, true insight, into a work if you're not reading it in its original
So
language.
then, so
From
then the so then the target is not morality, because I'm assuming that morality transcends languages and transcends culture. So we're not just morally saying, okay, love your neighbor. So you're saying that's not the case, and this is why we have the complexity in
I'm
religions
saying
now.
that most likely what's written in one book that one person follows, and that might be the goal of that particular book. But no
Uh-huh.
one can says that the original Bible said that, because we don't have a clear line of people speaking two languages, uh, translating those
Right,
ideas.
and here lies the problem, Zanzi. And then now you have people in America who only speak English, more than likely, going, hey, what's up, Machizo? What's up, Machizo? Here where you have the problem, whereas something as simple as, I don't know, respect your neighbor, respect others. It's simple. Love your neighbor. It's simple. I mean, it's as simple. Like, okay, let me give you an example. Like in my neighborhood, don't play your fucking music loud because you're disturbing other people. It's a simple concept. It's simple. It's simple. It's not complicated. It's simple. Don't play your fucking music loud. Don't drive your fucking ATVs, yeah, 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 and disturb your fucking neighbors. Like, I don't need to be French or goddamn Greek or goddamn Russian or Ukrainian to know this. Like, oh, okay, my motorcycle is too loud. My
I
car
didn't
stereo
need
is too fucking loud.
I
Let
didn't
me turn
need
it down and be considerate of my neighbors. Like I don't need to do all this scholastic stuff to be respectful.
You say that I don't need to be to speak that language or to be from that place to know that, but would you consider that it's being good neighbors to have a bunch of chicken in your backyard?
I mean, if those chickens are jumping over and shitting in my yard and causing havoc in my property, then it could be an issue. Then I would have to take that person to
But
court.
in some other place where everybody has got them chickens in their yards and
Right.
they don't have much place, it's not that much of a concern.
Right. It's
That could
not
be a
right.
bad
Right. Right.
neighbor. So
Okay.
that changes from place to place, from culture to culture, what
Right.
being a good neighbor is, right? And
Right.
I think that if ever uh, anything close to being a good neighbor was in those spiritual book, it must be a metaphorical, or what do you call it, a parable, right?
Right.
It must be something that, yeah, love your neighbor, right?
Hmm.
It just means be and I think that the other things that people say is associated with that idea is what we call the golden rule, right? Do
Right.
another as you would.
And that's always been my conflict with people who are religious. I don't need to read a Bible to know that if I play my music loud, it's going to disturb my neighbors around me.
So what did you
Maybe they don't.
read that
Mhm.
brought you this concept of playing your music loudly is disturbing, right? The bylaw of your city, or just a guide on general ethic. Because I mean, this
Guide on
concept
general
of
ethics.
playing your music loud is bad. You got it from somewhere, right? Be it a
Mhm.
book or a movie or your parents telling you it. Uh, the Bible is no different than that to some extent, right? It's just a source to get your 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 rituals or your ethics
No, and
from,
it's funny you say that because, like, okay, I do a homeowners association. I'm one of the captains, right?
right?
And a lot of the people, and because now people are what they're doing with their houses, they're called oh, I forgot the name of them. Somebody in the chat, if y'all could know what you can, I forgot what they call them, but the kind of the quality of people in the neighborhood has gotten to the point where people, like, if you come up to them and ask them, "Hey, can you turn your music down?" They let you crazy. Like, turn my music down. Like, it's like, yeah, you're in, like, most homes, most neighborhoods in America, most, like, you don't play your music loud, to so loud to where it's disturbing your neighbor. Like, your neighbor didn't ask you, they didn't want to hear that. Um this is pretty much most neighborhoods, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most neighborhoods are they have in a homeowner association, they ask you to please keep your music to where it doesn't disturb your neighbors. Now,
I'd say that at least here in Quebec, let's say, right?
mhm,
In urban settings, that's generally the rules of most neighborhoods, right? In
right,
rural areas, most of the time, don't give a fuck because you're so far away from your neighbor that you'd have to be shooting cannons for you to be hearing that, right?
right. Well,
But
most houses here in Atlanta, I don't care what neighborhood you are, the houses are kind of close together. So, you know.
no, yeah. So that's what
Okay.
I'm
So,
saying.
okay.
In urban settings,
Yeah.
um, or what's the how do you call those? Here we call it banlieue, but developments that are not urban, are not rural, but are kind of in between. Uh, what's the name from that in English? God
I
damn it.
know. I'm having brain farts all to, and I'm supposed to be working
Anyway,
on this damn debate. Oh gosh. I'm having
but
some sort of
yeah. So
fog.
yeah, yeah. But what are you trying to get to in relation to religion when you're talking about the homeowners association rules?
Well, just like the homeowner association rules, you have your biblical and your Islamic doctrine back then, I guess, to keep society to I guess
So you're trying to say
keep
that
things.
homeowner associations are a good substitute for religion?
It's better than religion, but
It's
in my
better than
opinion,
religion.
yeah, because religion's outdated. There's a lot of things in there that are outdated. Like, you can't stone,
So,
you
but
can't stone
let me
people.
okay. So let me ask you this, Blackson, right? Because
Mhm.
I So you say it's updated. You say
It
it's not
is.
good. It's useless. It's
No,
but
it's outdated. It's outdated.
let's be honest though, right, with
Mhm.
ourselves, and let's recognize that about 90% of the people on Earth uh, believe in some form of God, right?
And that's
Uh,
fine.
so, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, how is it outdated then?
It's outdated because, okay, here in America, we don't live by a theocracy. The end game of the
Maybe a
Bible,
theocracy is outdated, but how is religion outdated?
the whole purpose of the English version, of King James version of that doctrine is to form a theocracy. Islam, the
I've
Quran
never read
that
the King James Bible, to be honest,
oh,
so I
okay.
wouldn't know about that.
No problem. No problem. King James Bible is the basis of most
Wasn't
Bibles
it
here
written
in
by
America.
Shakespeare?
It was I guess I mean if you talk about the English version, that whatever that English translation is, when you read the end game of that, it's to form a theocracy. So yeah, thousands of years ago, that might have been relevant, but now, especially in the United States of America, not only do we oppose a theocracy, we oppose monarchies. It's outdated. And now you got democracy. You got American democracy being not only our money with the dollar, but American theocracy as far as like measuring human rights and all that. Like America is the pinnacle of like. I hate to say this, Zanzi, because I know you're not from America, but a lot of people will debate and say that America is the greatest country in the world and has the greatest constitution in the world. So, what will we need with a theocratic country?
Americans say that.
Oh,
say,
yeah,
say
absolutely,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, they do
And
say
you know
that.
what?
Right.
Canadians say that about Canada. I'm pretty sure French people say that about France, right?
Fine, fine. And that's cool
So,
because like Canada, France, England, and America all have similar
pretty sure North Koreans say
democratic.
that about North Korea, Chinese people about
Well, you
China.
better because Kim Jong Un gonna put you to death
Yeah,
if
but
you
what
don't.
I'm trying to get at is that this sentiment that our national, not everybody is going to have it, prove being some people emigrate, right? So some people say, no, no, that country I'm going to is most likely better than that country I'm in right now, right?
Right.
Some people, though, and that's interesting, talking to immigrants, some people leave their country to come here and they still believe that Canada is shittier than, let's say, Lebanon, right? The thing is, though, but they're grateful to Canada.
But
They
they can
follow
make
the
more
rules of
money in
Canada.
Canada, even
The
though
thing,
Canada is
though,
shittier. They can make more
the
money in
thing, though,
Canada.
is they recognize that right now there's a goddamn war in Lebanon, and that right
Okay,
now it's dangerous in Lebanon. But they just want this goddamn war to end so that they can go
go
back to
back.
the greatest
Right.
country in the world, right?
Okay.
So this sentiment is something that I find is wonderful and sad at the same time, right? Because it shows that wherever you are on earth, whatever your culture is, sometimes it's your culture, and because it is your culture, it's the greatest culture in the world, right?
Okay.
And but you might have to be taken away from that culture because a tragedy is going on in your country, right?
Right.
And you're working hard to be able to go back there. And an example of that would be my friend Mamadou, right? And that's interesting because there's been a coup in Guinea, right, recently,
Yeah.
and he's from Guinea, right? And when he came here, um, he explained to me that he was a political exile, right? That
Yeah.
he left the country because when he was in the university, he and his buddies created a pirate radio, and that was talking a bit against the government that was there at the time, and the army kind of arrested most of them, but he got away to France and finished his studies there and came to Canada, right? But
Yeah.
he predicted in 2016 to me that in 2000 in 2019 there would be a coup, and the coup happened, right? And
Right.
his
Right.
goal, he's doing great work here. He's working into a economical development organization,
Yeah.
nonprofit organization in Saskatchewan, right?
Yeah.
And he's helping with well, organizations that help with developing the French language and developing the place of African immigrants and different communities in Saskatchewan. And so he's helping. people here in Canada,
Hmm.
even though his heart is all about being able to go back to Guinea, safe in Guinea, and show his daughter the country he grew up in, right? That he so much love, but that he can't go because he's not safe right now while living there, right? So
Right.
it's saying that's why I always say I don't judge North Korea for their nuclear ambitions, right? They not when
Oh
you
no,
look
no,
at
no. I
North
don't
Korea,
know.
the
No, I don't.
country,
Yeah, I don't either.
they're like a
I don't
fucking
blame any country.
beaten dog that just fucking hate America, right? Because they've been beaten so so the Americans did horrible things to North Korea, right? So
Hmm.
they just have this goddamn beaten dog reflex of snapping, right, and biting, right, with nuclear weapons, right, because they don't want to be fucking kicked again, right? And
Right.
it's I don't know, man. It's
Well,
you
didn't
think
Trump? Didn't Donald Trump was the first to go over to North Korea and got Kim Jong Un to come over to the border to South Korea, and now South Korea and North Korea are kind of doing this ritualistic thing where they both keep going back and forth to each other
no,
countries.
they've been doing that for fucking 50 years.
Okay.
Donald Trump didn't do anything. Uh,
Hmm.
they just, you know, nothing
Oh,
changed.
so they've been going back and forth to each other's country for 50 years? I didn't know this.
Well, when you say back and forth, what I am understanding, and sorry if I'm
Okay,
misunderstanding, I
so
think is that they're going back
so
and
what I
forth into
understand, so what I understand is that Trump was the first United States president to step over foot in North Korea.
oh, that might be that might be the truth, but
That is
what the
true.
fuck does that do?
No, and then it allowed for the first time in history that a North Korean president went over across into the South Korea. That was the first time that's ever been done. So you said the
Okay,
last
but
50 years.
what's the use of those symbolic gestures? Right, nothing changed. They still the relationship between the two countries is exactly the same as it ever was.
Yeah, but don't you have to start at a point,
Yeah,
Zanzi?
but
Where there's
real
peace?
point, some real work, not just taking a step over a
No,
line
no, okay, okay. So
for
you get in a fight with a
peace.
person, right? You get in a fight. You guys get in a goddamn slug out fight. So what is the first step to make reconciliation? What's the first step? You have to make a first step, Zanzi.
Well, yeah, the first step would be to recognize that you want to work it out,
Okay, so that you got to have a first step, right?
but they didn't do that.
I'm sorry, they didn't do that.
No, they just
They didn't
went
do that.
over a
So Trump get on the phone and say, I want to talk to Kim Jong Un, and Kim Jong Un, hey, how you doing, Trump? Oh, okay. Well, would you like to meet and blah blah blah. So there was a starting point for Trump to get on the phone, or was it Kim Jong Un to get on the phone and say, hey, you know what? Why don't we meet at the border and shake hands? So you have to have a point A to start, is what I'm trying to tell you, Zanzi.
why are we talking?
And if more people
We're
have a
talking about
point
the
A,
relationship between South Korea and North Korea, not the fucking United States.
because a lot of times the United States, if you want to be realistic about it, we put the battery in a lot of nations' back.
That's the problem.
No, I'm not going to argue with you on that part. You know what I'm saying? That's why we're having the whole Russia Ukraine conflict, because it's no longer Russia against Ukraine. It's Russia against the Western powers now.
It's proxy war. I like North Korea as a fucking proxy war too. What the United States should do is get the fuck out. You know, kill the CIA. You know, get rid of it. You know, uh, fucking what's going on in Iran today, right?
Hmm.
I would not believe that. I'm not saying it's not good to some extent, right?
Hmm.
But I cannot believe that the CIA is not behind it to some extent. That's exactly what they've been doing all around the world, right?
Hmm.
And it's not it's known. It's some of it is declassified, right? So
Right.
it's the United States have been doing shit, and a good example of that is the way the French, uh, 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 well, tried to manage to uh, incept, well. I'm looking for a fancy word, but basically make themselves necessary into relationships between different First Nations, right? In the early time of colonization,
Yeah.
they will make sure that whatever conflict was between two nations, that even if they managed to um, fight it out themselves, right? Find a solutions in between themselves, right, to their issues. The French would come in and say that this was unvalid, that they had to be the mediators. They had to
Right, 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 right. That
right.
goes a lot on in
By
Africa,
doing
right?
that, they make sure, right? They pit each other's each side
Hmm.
against the other, saying that the other can be trusted. So I
Right,
have to be here to right, and they make sure that they have control and they get something out of each deal, and they get
right.
their ways out of each deal.
Yeah.
So that's what your country is doing out in the world, right? And that's
I'm not arguing that
it's
point.
so when you're telling me that Donald Trump calling Kim Jong Un is
Uh-huh.
a way, a step into fixing the issue, no,
Hmm.
absolutely not. It's a step into continuing the same fucking pattern that led to the issue in the fucking first place.
Zanzi, but then we had to go back to to the very beginning. We got to go to the Atlantic slave trade. We got to go to, we got to go
Wait,
to World War
what's the
II.
link
We
between
got to
the
go.
Atlantic slave trade and North Korea?
Well, the mentality. I'm sorry, the mentality, the colonial mentality, which started in the slave trade, has continued on to present day. That's my relation between the two. So,
Oh,
meaning,
and that's a good thing, or that's an
I'm not
excusable?
saying that's a good thing. I'm saying that you have to destroy the master servant paradigm. That's where I'm coming
Absolutely.
from
Yeah.
because they feel like that the Koreans are their
It's
servants. The
very
South Koreans
interesting that
are their
you would say
servants.
that, Blackson, because you know what? That
Why is that
sounds a
interesting?
lot like Marxism.
Right, right. Which was born where? Which is born where?
Germany.
Huh? Germany?
Germany.
Germany. Okay, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But even with Germany, with the Habsburgs, England, you still have a master servant mentality, which offers a master servant paradigm. Until, yeah, yeah, you're right, Germany. So, um, see, we about to get into whole the whole economic
No, I don't. I
thing.
know.
I'm not
I
ready
was
to get
just
into
saying
that.
that that's interesting, right? Because
Mhm.
you basically saying we have to shift the power relation, right? We have to shift the class relation, right? Uh,
Well,
so
well, in order for that, there has to be a revolution for that to happen. As you know, being French, you know that. But the thing is, before you have a revolution, you have to show a better structure because a lot of times when they have a revolution, as you know, the French terror, the Bolshevik terror, it gets worse. It seems like before it gets better. And I know that France, you guys with Robespierre, y'all had the terror that y'all had to go through, which was
again, I'm not French.
well, yeah, but what I'm saying is what you're not French, but what I'm saying is that you being Canadian, me being American, a lot of the traces of democracy trace back to England and France. A lot of that. So, and that's why America and Canada were formed because of some of
I
the
mean, why France,
structures.
right? Because I mean, democracy traces back really from Greece,
All right,
from
Greece, right. Yeah, true enough. Yeah, that's true.
France. They had their fifth republic, right? And
Yeah.
in between republics, what did they have?
You tell me. I'm sorry.
Emperors.
Emperors,
So
right,
it's
right. Kings, yeah.
they have a very troublesome relationship with democracy in France, right? England, they still have a fucking king, you know.
Oh, I know because
So
I think
it's
what was it? Yeah, they killed King Charles the First, and then they brought King
I don't
Charles the
think that
Second
those
right
such
back.
things are emblems of democracy, right? America could be seen as an emblem of democracy, even though it's a fucked up democracy, but so is Canada's. I don't think any country really did democracy correctly, right? I
Right,
mean,
right,
even in fucking ancient Greece, 10% of the people could
No.
vote.
right. Hey, Nature Mom, how you doing?
Hello.
Oh, you guys can hear me and see me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so sorry, you guys. This has just been a horrible day of electronics.
Yeah,
And as you see,
very
I don't even have good lighting today.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
my light is
Sorry
going
about
out
that.
too. Yeah, mine's getting dark, so it's all good. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not hardwired. So if you guys lose me, this is
Oh, okay,
why.
okay.
So without my technical help here, I have a very hard time figuring out which wire is supposed to be. And we had a big event this weekend, so all
Oh,
of the wires and everything are somewhere else. Yeah.
oh,
So
okay. Gotcha, gotcha.
yeah,
Okay, that
sorry
makes
about
sense.
that,
Yeah,
guys. How are you,
yeah,
Zanzi?
Oh, I'm very good. I'm very good.
Good, great. So I missed almost all of the conversation today, huh?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
maybe went a little bit
Yeah, I'm
everywhere.
a little bit everywhere. Yeah, I'm not even really getting a clean stream on my end. So yeah, we'll hang in as long as we can. Maybe we can use our last few minutes here, just to kind of touch on some of the things we talked about last week.
Okay.
Particularly, one of you guys, you were talking about the ATP cycle. Uh, so the basically the way that sugar becomes energy in the body.
Yeah.
And so, I think that where we were with that last week, because we were talking about like what is the best kind of diet? Is it meat based? Is it plant based? Where's our meat sources coming from in this modern age? Where are our plant sources coming from in this modern age? And um, I think most importantly is the way that we're able to break down these foods into the proper sugars, so that our rebuilding system can do what it's supposed to do. One, it gives us energy to be able to function, but two, be able to you know um, operate effectively to destroy non-useful cells and to reproduce useful ones.
Right.
And I think that one of the biggest issues, I was really excited about this conversation tonight because one of our panel guests, who I don't see here, actually had an experience unexpectedly that forced her eating habits, her current eating habits, through illness. And, so like basically going from a full, let's say full range diet, and getting a parasite while traveling through Africa, through the water, and it destroyed her digestive system and her intestinal system. And after this month long ordeal, I don't want to tell her story for her, but the way I understand it, after this month long ordeal, she was never able to eat the same way again. So sorry, you guys.
All
I'm
right.
gonna have to just mute for 1 second.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Sorry, babe. What's going on?
Okay. All right. So Zanzi, um, yeah. Well, she looked like we didn't already did an hour show, so I'm gonna have Nature Mom close us out because I know. I don't know if you have to be somewhere or do you have? You say you were going to your friend's house today or some, or was that
No,
last
no,
week?
no. Yes, yesterday I had it was my brother's birthday that we celebrated,
Oh,
and
okay, no problem.
I'm going to my aunt's house during my vacation in 2 weeks.
Okay, okay.
But no, I don't have much plan. I'm waiting for a package
Oh,
at the end
oh,
of
oh, yeah.
the
Hold
day.
on a second. Damn. Let me unmute. I'm having some issues here. Uh, Nature Mom, y'all hold it down for just 1 second. Let me.
Okay. Can you hear me, Zanzi?
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Sorry, I'm like screaming. I didn't realize I was unmuted. There's a lot going on here. It's just the day of everything. But yeah, I'm sorry I missed the show today, Zanzi. Really, I was very excited about this, and unfortunately, just one thing after another happening.
I
C'est
think
la
definitely,
vie.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I was surprised also that it was on Sunday. I didn't remember that we had said that. So, but
So maybe you could fill me.
oh, I think well, you're cutting out. I don't know if you still are able to hear me.
Uh-oh. Did I just get
Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, you're frozen.
but I don't know if oh
Oh, now I can
oh
hear a bit,
and I
but
don't know
it's
what to do.
Oh, I think we're getting technical
Uh,
difficulties.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
starting next month. Damn. Well, y'all want to continue this next week?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, y'all. We're gonna be back on track. Nature Mom's having issues out. Y'all know FIFA. The technical difficulties. So we got to get your hardwired back in, Nature Mom. Ooh, and I had to step away. I'm gonna have to deal with one of my neighbors too. So I'm having issues.
Oh no, he's playing music loudly and not being.
No, and I
Oh,
already
the
asked him.
ATVs. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna have to deal with that.
Oh well.
Yeah, it's yeah. And I talked to the guy. He's like, oh, "Okay, no problem." And then it was good for about 3 hours. And now I hear again, and I'm like, "Really? Seriously?"
I'm used to that stuff because my brother is that guy, right? But
Hmm.
but I understand how it can be annoying if you're not living if in a place where it's normal, right? Because when you live in a place where everybody's doing that, then you know people don't care.
Well, ATVs are not street legal.
They're not, but there's some place where there's no such thing
Do you know
that
why they're not street
it's
legal?
legal, huh?
Do you know why they're not street legal?
Because they're well, they're off-road vehicles.
And not only that, they're too fucking noisy. That's why you take them out in the woods.
I guess that's part of it, but I'm pretty sure that if you made an ATV not noisy, you'd still not allowed to not be allowed to go on public road
Yeah,
with. There's some other safety issues with it, I think.
yeah. Give me 1 second again. Hold
Oh,
on,
but
y'all.
nature map, it's interesting because in the stairs, it seems that the internet is working better.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a good location. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going
right
everywhere.
here where you are right now, it seems to go all right actually because you're when you're moving right now, it's fluid. So
This is working, huh?
yeah,
I'm going
but we can
everywhere I
hear you right now.
can.
You going closer to the modem? Is that what's happening?
I'm switching modems.
Switching.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, because
okay.
the way that these places aren't built like in U.S. where it's like, let's say, stick and paper. These places are made out of stones, and
Oh,
so yeah, so you have to have a modem everywhere
Oh
oh
to
no,
yeah.
okay. Oh no, you
yeah.
don't have modems everywhere. You have a main router, and you most likely have different repeaters or access points. And now I see why your internet is choppy. You with those things, you have to very much make sure that they receive right because let's say a repeater, right? Your router is gonna send two signals, a 2.4 gigahertz signal and a 5 gigahertz signal, and your repeater is going to catch one of those and repeat the opposite one, right? So
Okay.
let's say that um, right, five-year Earth signal is going to be much more stable, but has a much less range, right? And the 2.4 much more range, but much less stability, right?
Right.
If your repeater catches the 2.4 gigahertz network, even if it broadcasts on a 5 gigahertz network, it's not going to be able to broadcast a better signal that it's receiving, right? So when you have those devices, you have to be measuring and testing all the spots in your house and on
Oh,
different bands, and make sure that the repeaters and wireless access points are. So if you didn't, that's I think what you should or your tech guy should take the time to do to make sure because that's a very complex network infrastructure. If it's all rock and concrete and
yeah.
cement, and you have repeaters, and I better understand what the hell is going on now. I think.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I'm literally standing next to the router
Oh,
Yeah, it's much
in
better.
order
Yeah.
to
Right.
get some kind of signal here.
yeah, that
So
does seem to be the
yeah,
central unit.
this is crazy. Yeah, this is. Oh gosh, you guys, really, and I've got to get better at understanding how the signaling works as we get closer to this FIFA because my neighbor next door, he's actually a cybersecurity operator for the country,
Oh,
and um, and he was telling us that we're in for more and more technical problems for a little while.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah, because the
Yeah,
traffic, yeah, the traffic,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, because we get the same thing here in the U.S. also.
Huh.
I notice more like okay, if I'm off on a weekend, then yeah, and then at a certain time, the traffic is just it just bogs down the
Right.
connection, and
Yes.
I'm all hardwired, so and
And
then
you
I get more
still are
crashes.
getting
Yeah,
more issues. Wow.
right.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting time because I mean everything, all of the infrastructure from the roadways to the internet, bands and even like getting like rent, food, everything is just getting
Yes,
more complicated. So, you guys, I'm going to leave you today because I feel like I've really, came in
no
so
problem.
late and I don't want to stomp on the rest of the show here, but next week we're on. I'm ready. I'm gonna
Okay,
have everything hardwired beforehand
all right,
because I think that's gonna make the biggest difference. And everyone's schedule is also very up in the air because of these events and all of the extra shooting days and stuff. So I think just getting stuff done beforehand is gonna be key to everything. And having my own wires because when I have wires, I know what to do with them. When I'm sharing wires and they disappear, then I'm lost.
right, all right.
Um,
Plus, I gotta go. I gotta go out here and tell the guy, look, I'm gonna have to call the police.
oh,
Either, I, you know, hey, I'm gonna have to
the
just
more
go
and
there.
more I see insights of your life, the more
okay, guys.
Blackson seems to be the
Go ahead, Zanzi.
the old man on his porch, on the swinging chair with the shotgun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't walk on my grass. That's funny.
And it's
But
always the new neighbors. It's always the new ones.
it's
The
always
ones
a
that
new.
been here, we get it. This is
So,
the
so it's always a new one. So every time a new one came in, Black Sun, you have to have him get in line, and you're there.
yeah. All we ask is we like quiet in this neighborhood. We like quiet,
You're the adjudicator of the homeowner association.
quiet, right? Yeah, because I'm the youngest one. But yeah, so let me get out here because yeah, he's going back and forth. And I got to take care of this, man. It's yeah, So usually when I say police, policia, police, then it usually eradicates everything. Apparently because they don't respect mine, so they don't listen to me. But for some reason, they listen to the police for some reason.
Maybe because they're allowed to use guns.
Okay, there you go. But we're gonna have to continue this next week, Zazzy. So, man, I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely.
I'm getting impatient. Yeah, let me shut the show down because I'm really getting impatient with this. This is driving me crazy.
Perfect.
All right, so we out. Peace, y'all.